Good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us for another show. Happy to have, well, we've got one person alongside, another person zooming in, but big event coming up in Vermont, the fourth annual Vermont Substance Use Addiction Summit. And the two key people, organizers, chairs, Brad Ferland next to me here in the set. Brad, great to see you.
Hey, Richard.
And zooming in, Melinda White. And Melinda, sorry you're a bit under the weather, but glad you can join us. Anyways, you guys have got to be veterans.
Finding a way to get me there.
Well, Melinda, let me start with you. Again, your fourth annual event sounds like it's getting bigger and better, but give us the origin. Where did this event come from in the first place?
So actually, the idea for this event came from Brad. He had asked me if there's any event similar to this, what we could do to raise awareness on addiction, because during the years of COVID and post-COVID, which understandably so, the focus was taken off many other things, but people were still passing at a fast rate with addiction and also struggling more with, we saw the numbers showed us that people were increasing their alcohol use, their substance use because of COVID. So Brad had an idea to do something to raise awareness, and we started coming up with the idea of a summit. We did a kickoff summit in February 4 years ago to see how it would go, and that was in Montpelier. And it was extremely successful. And after that event is when Brad said, I think we need to make it bigger. We need to do the expo. And when he said that at first, I was like, how are we going to pull this off? And yet, being a person in recovery, I'm taught that we say yes to be of service unless you're not available. So I was like, let's do this.
Brad, kudos. So again, it's literally gotten bigger and better, but even last year, your third event, you said a few thousand people showed up for this?
Yeah.
Wow.
The event is open to the public. That's one of our main goals, is to get the public and the political folks in. So everybody has an awareness of what the problem is and what solutions can be. And we emphasize that if you're struggling yourself or somebody you know, which often happens, you've got a brother, an uncle, sister, a cousin, somebody who needs help, you can come into the summit incognito. You can go, we have 100 booths of recovery related.
How many booths did you have last year?
About 100. I mean, we're both, yeah, we've stayed pretty constant.
Okay.
And people can find almost anything they need.
Wow.
And Melinda can talk a little bit more about the recovery centers in every part of Vermont that are attending and part of this.
Yeah. Boy. And again, so we're talking Friday, August 1st, 10 to 4, Champlain Valley Fair. And again, the morning part, 10 to 11:45 or so, the actual summit, and then the booths from noon to 4, covering just a ton of ground, ton of resource and recovery options.
And the summit is speakers. We have various speakers, and each year we've had a specific theme of what we want to talk about. And it includes people in recovery so that it's real. The health department puts the statistics out so that people know that it's real. You know, people are dying in Vermont on a regular basis. We're not just having a party here.
Yeah.
And this year we're really excited because the governor's commissioners and Secretary Jenny Samuelson will be a speaker. Department of Correction Commissioner Nicholas Demmel will be a speaker, and Commissioner Jen Morrison will be a speaker.
Wow.
Along with others. But that public safety and health and law enforcement, getting all of that sort of connected is really gigantic for this.
Yeah. Melinda, you got to be so happy. It's gotten bigger and better. You still feel you can deal with this okay? You guys are getting to be veterans at this, I think.
You know, it's something that it's a lot of work, but it's so much fun. And because it's a passion, I think there's a saying out there that, your work should not feel like work if you really love what you do. And that's the nature of doing this event. It is a lot, and yet we have the blessing of connecting with some of the most amazing people between the various community partners that are committed to sponsoring our event, because we could not do it without those sponsors. This is a grassroots event. So this is a Brad and Melinda event, And if we don't have sponsorship to cover costs, then we do it as individuals. And we have been very blessed that there was only 1 year we had to kick a little bit in. But now we've got some very consistent sponsors. And then also just the booth holders. And the reason that we want the sponsorship, we want this event to be free to the public and also free to the booth holders, because there's so many valuable partners that don't have a lot of funding earmarked for doing events like this. And our event is one of the only ones they can do because we don't charge for it. So it's a blessing to work with all those different partners. I always call it my big family reunion day. And then also to see the members of the public that have come in looking for help and being connected.
Probably worth noting, Brad, and again, you guys are so open about this, but you and Melinda speak from experience. You know what some of these folks are dealing with and stuff.
Yeah, I have been in recovery for like 21 and a half years.
Good for you.
Grateful for that. I hit a line in the sand moment at 22 years ago, where it really becomes like recovery is. It's a life and death thing. And I was very fortunate. I was able to get sober, and we do emphasize the fact that no matter where you are in terms of addiction, there's always hope. And that's one of the things that we like about the summit, is it offers anyone and everyone an opportunity to turn their lives around if they want.
Wow. Melinda, you want to get into that for yourself a little bit, just speaking from experience about the great work you're doing?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm in recovery myself. I've been open about that. I have a show on Northwest Access TV called Recovery Rock Stars, where
In fact, you have a higher profile than I do out here. Good for you.
And so we can raise awareness, so we can share hope, so people who may not know where to go or what to do can find out how to. And for me, being in recovery, I mean, I'm one of the many that shouldn't be here today, between many car crashes and DUIs and overdoses and multiple treatment centers, almost 2 years combination for the residential programs I did, that getting in recovery and finally taking all the suggestions and getting healthy is such a gift and a blessing that I don't take for granted. And I also know that my responsibility and the reason that I survived was so I can do work just like this.
Recovery options, are you making progress around Vermont, having more places that folks can go to for recovering from whatever addiction they're dealing with?
I wish I could say yes. Unfortunately, there have been a multitude of program closures over the years, and it's not from lack of need. Healthcare costs continue to rise. We've lost in the state of Vermont a number of services. Brattleboro Retreat used to do co-occurring, and now they only do mental health. We lost Act One, we lost Maple Leaf. So there's been a lot of program closures, but a big reason that we are powering forward with this summit is so we don't lose awareness of how much the need is, and also to our lawmakers and to people that have positions of, allocation committees and whatnot, to be able to see how valuable some of these services are and that they can be appropriately funded, so programs that we know work can stay open.
I know you talk to the governor on your WDEV talk show once in a while, Brad. Just going back to the last legislative session, of course, education, finance reform, a huge issue, and they still have a lot of work to do. Any particular initiatives that came out of the last session of the legislature of, a particular benefit or worth noting?
I think that they allocated some more Medicaid funding, but not what we hope to see. It's really, the other states have higher reimbursement for Medicaid, which allows for longer stays. This is one of our summit goals, is the 2-week and out model back to the street doesn't work. It's really dubious. So
is that a lot of places? Can you just stay for like a couple weeks in some of these places? Is that
you can, but it's preferred to go a month and then have step down, opportunities. Which, and we do have some great programs like Jenna's Promise and Teen Challenge, and others will take people through all of their needs of health care and workforce development and all of that, all the things that people need to just be human beings surviving, right?
Yeah.
So I do also want to mention our sponsors once again that
Sure.
Melinda was talking about. Savita Health is our platinum sponsor. They have facilities all around the state, including here in St. Albans and other states. They're a big company, but they are amazing, and they really have helped us. WCAX is sponsoring,
Yeah.
and the fairground is really discounting the facility
Wow.
by, $15,000,
Really?
so that we can have parking, 2 big buildings, breakout rooms, all of this stuff,
Wow.
and we couldn't do it without them. Plus, we have a whole list of smaller level sponsors that are imperative for helping us do what we're doing.
Wow. Sounds like, again, such a big event. So this is kind of the obvious place, northwest Vermont, certainly where the population is. So Champlain Valley Fairgrounds is kind of the obvious place for
Yeah.
such a big event.
It's perfect, and they're super accommodating. And I also want
right.
to put in a plug for Melinda. She is
Really.
connected with everyone in the state in recovery world,
Wow.
and because of that, this is successful. Her credibility brings in sponsor money, it brings in booth holders, it brings in, everybody. So she's just so integral to this.
Melinda, it sounds like you've done such a good job with this event. Do you get other folks, maybe from other states, northern New England, anybody checking in with you to just try to hear what you're up to with this event? That wouldn't surprise me at all.
We actually do have some organizations that come from other states. We've got organizations from different areas of New England that come to this event. There's some that come here for a couple of days because they're coming from so far, and then they get a chance to enjoy Vermont. We actually have a new summit organization this year. Their name is Summit CHB, and they are out of New Hampshire. But after the summit that they come to here, he's going to go with his son to Jay Peak. And so the nice thing is that it attracts other organizations from outside of just Vermont. It really is for New England. And then I also it's like the networking that can happen because of this summit. I have met some of the most amazing people that I wouldn't have really understood what they did, or probably would have not met them elsewhere. But because we have some of our partners like Granite Recovery, Tony O'Shaughnessy with Granite, he's brought some of these out-of-state organizations that I then get connected with. And when I'm working with somebody struggling with substance use and they want to get out of state and kind of start fresh somewhere else, then I know where to send them. So it's really a win-win, because the networking that we do throughout New England as a result of meeting in person for a full day for this event has been something that is almost impossible to do if it's just a Zoom call or a phone call. So it's really been a strategic event for so many reasons, and just the relationship building, because we're not meeting to talk about how many widgets are being made. We're meeting to talk about lives that are being saved. It's a very intimate conversation. And when it's people you haven't met and you're having these conversations, you're immediately connected in a really emotional way.
Well, with some of the speakers who Brad mentioned, sounds like you've certainly gotten the attention of state government and a lot of other folks, but and more so than in the past. Is this kind of the biggest presence of state government folks, Brad?
Yeah, Monica Hutt, who's with the governor's office, has been tremendous. And when we wanted to include these commissioners and Secretary Samuelson, she was integral in bringing them in. And, we have presented these summit goals with the hope that state government and legislators will catch up to them. And they're doing that now. And we definitely invite all legislators to attend. I think it's a great event for them to learn about recovery.
Do you typically get some legislators attending?
We get some, but not enough.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I reached out to the Speaker's office yesterday to do a specific invite so that hopefully she will put that out to the House members, and then the Senate Pro Tem, the same thing. I also want to mention one of the goals of the summit is to humanize addiction. And one of our beloved speakers who's on the panel is Dawn Tatro and her husband Greg, who have Jenna's Promise. And they lost Jenna to addiction, to an overdose. And when Jenna was going through trying to get clean and sober, she did a job interview and was real excited about it. It was sort of like, I'm doing okay in life, I can do this job and stuff. They left, I'm paraphrasing, but they left the office, the door was closed, and what they could hear was people inside saying, we'd never hire that, attic kind of thing. And it just morally crashed her, And we want to emphasize that the addiction is very different from the person, and, the heart and the soul and the goodness of the person is affected by the addiction, but they are still human beings, and that's what we hope to emphasize as well with this.
Chet, as promised, I read a lot about these folks. Based in Johnson?
Correct, yeah.
Well, but no, I hear just great things about these folks. Sounds like they've been a tremendous resource.
They are a great resource. And the other goal that I'll just mention again is we really want more political awareness. If you're in the State House and you're in committee rooms and you're not talking to the people who are the boots on the ground, it's just not as productive as it can be. If a legislator on health or one of these committees can make the rounds and talk to recovery people, they're going to have a much better grasp of the real world and what the needs are.
Well, Melinda, I'm kind of a stat guy, maybe a crazy question, or to Brad too. Number of people in Vermont who have some addiction problem. Have you got any feel for percentage of the number of people in Vermont or in the country for that matter?
I don't have them on me, and I would not want to say anything that's inaccurate. What I can say is that we have more people that are connected and established on MAT, which is medication-assisted treatment. There's been a big drive in 2018. The prescribing laws changed around narcotic prescribing, and we saw an uptick in heroin being used, and then also an uptick in fentanyl because people cut heroin with fentanyl to make it stronger. And we saw the overdose rate rising at a rapid rate. The more that we got, at the time, there was a waiver that was required for prescribers. There's no more waivers. So a lot of the barriers for a doctor to be able to prescribe MAT and support somebody with addiction, those barriers have been reduced, which is great. So more people are in treatment. The other thing we see, though, is now there's a big rise in stimulants. So people struggling with stimulant use disorder, which is like cocaine, methamphetamine, Adderall, those kinds of things. So that's one of the challenges, like one of the trends that we've seen changing, is that more people are becoming addicted to stimulants and using stimulants. Alcohol has been a constant, and I feel like I want to highlight that. I know 7 Days did a great article earlier in the year, but it's almost like because of the funding and the fatalities of opioid use, there was a loss of attention to alcohol. And the reality is alcohol has been ever present. I work in the emergency department, and the patients that I see over the last 3 years, 67% of them are there for alcohol.
Wow.
So we still have a lot of issues with alcohol treatment. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I don't know the percentage of the population of the state that struggle with substance use. I do know that more are connected to treatment. And I also know that there's still a lot of gaps in our system, the accessibility for people to get help in real time when needed, without the barriers of transportation or funding and whatever it might be. We could definitely do a little bit of a better job.
Yeah. Same question, Brad? Any rough feel for that? Pretty hard to nail that down, I guess.
I don't know the exact data. I know that the health department will present the deaths each year, so that would tell us that there's a big problem out there.
Did I see, were those numbers down last?
They were down, and they were sort of proudly touting that, but down isn't much.
Yeah.
If there's still 150
I think I might have had
deaths,
the same sense when I heard or read that. I don't think I was jumping up and down.
We don't view it as a victory.
Yeah.
I do want to talk also about something, and Melinda can jump in on this because I think it's important. We're all about recovery, right? Making every available recovery resource out there. Yeah. So if somebody needs help, they get help. But what we know is the law enforcement community, the reason we're connecting the law enforcement community and public health and public safety and the judges is because a small segment of the offenders are just serious offenders, right?
Yeah.
They're killing people with drug sales and all of that.
Yeah.
We want them arrested, and we hope that they'll go to corrections. Now, that's why we have Commissioner Demmel, because we don't want people to go to incarceration. We want them to go to a place where they can hopefully get some help. But the premise is that everybody else who may get arrested, may have an altercation with the law, that there's an embedded health worker or mental health person or somebody there with the law enforcement or soon after, and they can get some help. And I'm told by like the former police chief of Burlington that a lot of these people, once they get arrested once and they can be provided with resource, they do better.
Yeah.
And that's what we hope for. And Melinda's been working on something very specific about this and seen a lot of progress.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
the SIM model is really looking at the, law enforcement, judges, health, all of this together so that a judge has a better awareness of what happens when they let somebody go. If they're back on the street the next day and we hear the catch and release phrase, it's just, people are really sick of that.
Yeah.
And what Chief Murad told me was, he showed me a list of 10 folks who have, 200 offenses or so.
Yeah.
And
That's insane.
number 3 went to number 1 the next year. It's almost like,
Yeah, you wonder why people go crazy about stuff like that.
Yeah.
So again, relations with police departments, just the awareness that they have for this, has that gotten a lot better over the years?
A lot better, and one of the premises of the summit is modeling, right? If something is working great in St. Albans and it's working great in Rutland, if they're dealing with corrections in Springfield really great, or wherever, that we make sure that everybody knows how something works well, including like Jenna's promise, getting back to the fact that, somebody, or Teen Challenge, where they make sure that somebody gets their high school diploma before they get released. They get mental health treatment, they get physical health treatment, they get opportunities. Greg Tatro with Jenna's Promise gets their residents out working in the community. Vermont Teddy Bear, construction projects, all these things that give people self-esteem, let them have a new beginning, and also keep them occupied so that they're not doing the things that caused the problems in the first place.
Yeah. The homeless, unhoused issue never goes away. It sounds like the legislature, governor just keeps struggling with that. That comes into play for you folks? Is
it definitely comes in. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy, of needs, if somebody can't feed themselves, have a warm bed or something like that, it creates all sorts of problems.
Yeah.
The legislature only barely walked to the 30-yard line on housing this year, and there's a lot more to do.
Yeah. Melinda, sounds like just a very discouraging, the homeless, housing, unhoused issue never goes away, and certainly X number of these folks have addiction issues, but that's kind of an ongoing discouraging issue, I'm sure.
It's really challenging when we want people to not only not die, right? We talk about overdose statistics and fatal overdoses, but one thing that with this event we want to keep an eye on is it's not just about trying to keep people alive, but it's about people healing and thriving. And it's really hard for somebody to be successful in their recovery when they don't know where they're going to sleep night to night. And sadly, the housing has not gotten any better. So housing is still a big piece of, when we look at the social matrix and why people struggle with being healthy and successful in their recovery, when housing is a factor, those are the individuals we see struggle with the more. And that's why one of our summit goals is an increase in the certified recovery residence beds. So it gives people a safe place to go after they go to residential treatment. And if they come from the unhoused community, they can go to a recovery residence, get stabilized, start working, get job skills, start saving money, and then eventually be permanently housed. And that's an ultimate goal for the individuals.
Brad, as you talked about, again, so for some of the folks, again, thousands of people coming to the summit, I mean, we're talking immediate help. It's not like they're going to hear, oh, yeah, call us down the road and we can help. I mean, folks can and do get immediate help.
They can be put in a car and taken to a bed.
And,
Yeah.
and that literally happens with some of
It
these
did
folks.
happen, right, Melinda? Last year,
That has happened where somebody has been able to get in a vehicle, and then it's also
Wow.
happened where people have been able to complete screenings and then get their bed dates because they may not be ready to go right then and there. But yeah, that's the cool thing about the summit is that people coming looking for help, they get it right there on the spot. And I want to shout out to Valley Vista, who is also going to be a presenter at this year's summit. Kevin Hamill's going to share about Valley Vista. But the first year we had the summit, they had a van there ready to take somebody who was planning on attending the summit. And sadly, he didn't make it to the summit. And 3 days later, he died.
Wow.
But it's just to say that's why it's so critical to have that real time response, because even when you have the resource there, sometimes people just don't quite make it through that door. But this at least makes it a little bit easier to get through a door. And it's not a door of a clinical setting. It's a fairground, and we keep it fun. So like Brad said, people come incognito. Nobody needs to know why you're there. Nobody's going to ask, are you here because you have addiction issues? Everybody's welcome. There's entertainment. There's different providers that can talk to people. And if they have those confidential conversations, nobody's going to know. So.
Sounds like kind of the toughest thing with all the folks out there for whom this would be an incredible resource, just getting them to this event. And it sounds like publicity-wise, you've done a great job more and more every year, but is that still a bit of a struggle?
Yeah, I think that the awareness is getting greater.
Yeah.
And like I said off air, I think, within next year maybe we could have 5,000 people come
Wow.
through. This is a growing event, and fortunately with the sponsorship and all the advertising we're doing, I think that people who want help know how to get, I used to know how to get to a liquor store, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully I could get to the fairgrounds and find some help. It is Friday, August 1st, so it's, there's plenty of advance time now at the fairgrounds in Essex. There's buses and everything through Chittenden County, so that should help. And recovery centers from, we have 12 recovery centers across Vermont, I believe 12.
Is there a new one in Newport? I get the Chronicle. Seems like I've been reading about a new resource in the Newport area, but
There is, and one of our partners is part of that in Melinda, Kentucky.
Yeah. Newport was the newest location to open, but that was at least, I'd say that was a good 5+ years ago.
Oh, really?
But one of the cool things about Newport, so Lila Bennett is the director of the Newport Turning Point, and she also is one of these amazing rock stars in the state of Vermont that pressed forward, even when people said, oh, I don't know if you should do this. She pressed forward to develop a program where she has detox beds, access to detox beds. And then she also is just recently opened Ben's House, which is based off of the Jenna's Promise model. Donna's been working with Lila on this, and they're going to be presenting about Ben's House together at the summit too. So yeah, Newport was the newest to sign on, and boy, she has been hitting the ground running since she's taken over.
That's great. Down about one minute. You want a few more seconds, Melinda? Again, great effort organizing this, but you're just looking for a huge crowd, and there are just a bunch of great resources for people who show up.
Yeah, I would just say Friday, August 1st at the Champlain Valley Expo, come and see the summit presentation from 10 o'clock a.m. to 11:45 a.m. And from noon to 4, we have booths and breakout rooms. No registration, no charge, just show up.
And Brad, give you the last few seconds here.
There's always hope.
That's a great way to end it. And again, just tremendous resources at this event for just anybody with just about any problem you can imagine, almost.
Totally,
addiction-wise.
anything.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. On that positive note, we'll stop things. Thanks very much to Brad Ferland, Melinda White. Thanks for zooming in. Get her. Hope you're back to full strength soon. But tremendous effort, you guys. Have
Thank
a great
you
event
very
on
much.
August 1st. Thanks to producer Alan Cunningham. Thanks for watching us here on Northwest Access TV. I'm Richard Cowperthwait. See you next time.